in a boombox. We're all crowded in there, sweating, no air conditioning. But let me tell you, I have never felt the Spirit of the Lord like I did in that place. And then a couple weeks later, I went to a camp of about 250 kids. And man, they had lasers, they had lights, they had smoke. The pastor dropped down from the rafters. They had plasma TVs all over the walls. But let me tell you, they didn't have the Spirit of God. They didn't have the Spirit of God. See, you can have, churches, we're good at things like with programs, and there's nothing wrong with programs. But if you're using programs as smoke and mirrors to hide the fact that you don't have the presence of God, you're living in sin. You're living in sin. See, okay, let's move. I want to keep talking, but we're good at things like showing movies, but poor at moves of the Spirit. We have blood drives, but no blood transfusions. All right. There's a quote that just messed me up a couple weeks ago. It said, I can tell what a person loves based on how they spend their free time. I can tell what is the desire of his heart is based on how he spends his free time. But for a lot of us, even our free time isn't free time, because we're so busy, and it's probably rooted in the fact that in here you have issues that you don't want to deal with. And I can't serve others if I'm constantly busy. There's a healthy way to draw boundaries, and it's okay to say no to people. Like, it's okay to say, no, I can't. I've got, my priorities is my family, and it's okay to have boundaries. Great book written called Boundaries. You should check it out if you have a few minutes. So there's that one, busyness. Here's the second one. You're in Mark. You're still in Mark. Look over one chapter to Mark 10. Mark 10. So the first hindrance to busyness, or to serving, is busyness. Here's the second one, and the rest of them just aren't very fun. I'm giving you a warning. Like, none of these are like, ooh, that was good. It's gonna be like, oh, ow. Like, it was a pain writing this sermon because I had to repent of all of them. So, here's the second one: selfishness. Any selfish people in here? I had a gentleman look at his wife this morning in first service when I asked that question. He was like, I was like, you're going to be in trouble later. Selfishness. You're in Mark. Look at this story. Mark 10, let's start in verse 35. Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to him being Jesus, saying, Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask. I like that boldness. Like, I'm not being sarcastic. They came and said, hey, Jesus, we want you to do what we say. I kind of like it. Like, it ends up backfiring on them, but I kind of like the fact that because here's the thing, they spent time with him and they knew that he was good. And when you know that he's good, you don't have a problem asking him for things. I thought that was really good. Anyways, amen. All right. Jesus answered, and he said to them, what do you want me to do for you? Verse 37, they said to him, grant us that we may sit one on your right hand and the other on your left in glory. But Jesus said to them, you do not know what you ask. I've always found that anytime I ask Jesus a question and he answers me with a question, I'm in trouble. Anyone know what I'm talking about? Okay. You don't know what you ask? Look at verse 38. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink and be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with? Look at their answer. They said, we are able. We are able. And look what Jesus says. So Jesus said to them, you will indeed drink the cup that I drink. And with the baptism I am baptized with, you will be baptized. But to sit on my right hand and on my left hand is not mine to give, but it is for those for whom it's prepared. So he says, hey, we want to sit at your right and left hand. Is that okay? And he's like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Can you drink from the cup I'm drinking from? And I can just kind of see him kind of confused and not really knowing what he's talking about, but just answering yes. Yeah? Yeah. He's like, okay, well, good answer, because you actually will drink from the same cup. You're going to be baptized in the same baptism I'm baptized in. You know what the baptism was? Death. You know what the cup was? Death. The best way to deal with selfishness, you want to know what it is? Die. Die. Come to a place where you say, I'm going to die to being selfish because it's not about me. Here's the thing. I'm about to be 25 on Saturday is my birthday. And like I'm not scared to die. Like I'm really not. Like I just don't want to get eaten by dogs. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not scared. Like there's nothing within me that's fearful of leaving this world and constantly being in the presence of love. Like that fires me up. Like I'm not scared of that. I don't want to get eaten by dogs though. Like I don't want to die in a plane crash. Do you get what I'm saying? Like whenever I fly, like I always find myself like praying in tongues and holding the hand of the person next to me, like praying that our flux capacitor is working and that we can reach 88 miles an hour. Back to the Future, anyway. Okay. I just know, like that would, like I'm not scared to die, and I'm not scared to go to heaven. I just don't want it to hurt when I do. Right? Right? See, I got you laughing. Now I'm about to shank you. Ready? I think the kingdom's that way. We all want to experience heavenly encounters, but we don't want to go through pain to do it. We want to experience the presence of the Lord, but we don't want to die. And death is the only doorway in. Death is the only doorway in. Let me make sure I'm not getting ahead of myself. See, we all want resurrection power, right? We all want resurrection power. There's a verse that says that the same Spirit that rose Christ from the dead is in you. It's in you. So we all want that power. That's what we want. And it's a desire. It's not a bad desire by any means, but it's something that we all want. But let me ask you a question. How can you have a resurrection without having a death first? How can you have a resurrection without having a death? See, much of the church is missing out on resurrection power, not from lack of desire, but from lack of death. From lack of death. See, you have to die to your dreams. Not in a sense of, well, God's not interested in my dreams. He is. He gave them to you. Like, he's pretty interested in them. But it's in a sense, well, let me give you an example. I'm 20, about to be 25. Right when I turned 18, I went from being a drug addict to being in full-time ministry. Maybe not the best idea right off the bat, but I learned a lot of things. I was a full-time youth pastor at First Baptist Church in Roscoe, just right down here on I-20. Worked for my brother. My brother was my pastor. We will never do that again, if you know what I'm saying. Like, we love each other. We just don't work good together. But anyways, so I'm full-time youth pastor. This is just a little bit of my story so you know where I'm coming from. Full-time youth pastor. And then I went from being a full-time youth pastor to a part-time college pastor. And then I went from being a part-time college pastor to be, I went to ministry school in California. And then I went from ministry school to being a youth intern. And then I went from being a youth intern to managing a restaurant. Does anyone see a problem with this? Like, I always ask God if he was dyslexic. I'm like, God, this is backwards. Like, shouldn't I, if you're, don't email me. If, like, I always thought, like, okay, I need to manage a restaurant and then youth intern, then go to ministry school, then part-time, and then full-time. And have you ever informed God about your situation? Like, God, I don't know if you know this or not. But this is not going the way that I had planned. So I go to this church, the church I came from in Amarillo, and I had just gone to ministry school, and I had gotten the most amazing prophetic words I've ever gotten in my life. Words like this, words like, you're going to preach to not thousands but millions, start thinking bigger. You're going to travel to nations. You're going to be one of the biggest leaders in a movement. You're going to lead a generation out of slavery. So, you know, I get these words, and I'm like, hey, it's right. It's like, it's about time someone recognizes my greatness. Like, I was young at the time. I mean, I'm still young, but I was arrogant and thought it was all about me. So I go to this last church I was at, and I meet with the pastor. The pastor's a hero, one of my spiritual fathers, a hero of mine. And he said, I was like, hey, man, well, I'm here to serve you. Like, I'm here to serve. Whatever you need, I'll do. He's like, okay, awesome. We actually need the sanctuary vacuumed. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go do it right now. And I was all like vacuuming. Like, I was all excited. I vacuumed. And he says, vacuum the sanctuary, come back next week. Vacuum the sanctuary, I come back. I'm like, hey, pastor, like I vacuumed. We're good. Man, here's my giftings. Like, this is where I'm gifted. How can I serve you better? Oh, well, can you vacuum again? And I was like, okay. I was like, sure, I'll just come back next week. And okay. And I go, I'm vacuuming. He said, come back next week.